Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Pinball Arcade. Last time we did Sword of Fury. Now this time we're going to Tech Sector, which I like would assume that means Texas Sector, but I bet it doesn't. I mean, I assume it probably in 1988 would have been understood as Technology Sector, um, being abbreviated in a weird way. Tech Sector 1988 is a highly collectible table from Gottlieb designed by John Trudeau, Constantino Mitchell, Gian Michel. The back box features a combination of hand-drawn art and photography, as well as a scoreboard that is positioned over the back glass to increase the visibility to others. The playfield shows off a strikingly lit ramps and curving plunger habit trail for exciting gameplay. Using staged captive balls, the game teleports balls across the table during gameplay for added attraction. 2,336 units of this table were produced. I don't feel like they mentioned how many tables were produced for Sword of Fury. It does seem like maybe one brand in particular of designers did not keep records or did not disclose sales records. But in all honesty, I feel like you probably could get an estimate at least. So we've got a Gottlob table, no central lane bumper. There is also those pins behind the flippers. Those seem to have stuck around even by 88. No kickback. Although, if you look at it, it seems like it might be fairly hard to drain to that left out lane or the right out lane. They may just have the angle perfectly. You almost would have assumed by this point too, people would have um, figured out the perfect angles to set the out lanes if they didn't want you to drain. Now we do have an angled side shot here and a flipper, which I doubt you could get the ball on the edge of that flipper and then hit this wall and then bounce all the way to that standing target. So that's almost certainly only a one-way direction. Same is probably true for this standing target. So the far left and far right targets only achievable by the lower flippers. And then you have a drop-down target that goes up this ramp and then goes down to an area here where it seems like the ball drains somewhere under here and then maybe pops out behind drop down targets behind that. Maybe. Or maybe it drains under the table somewhere else. They did say the balls would get teleported, but I'm not sure where. You have a ramp here that drains that way, and it starts here. What did they call this alleyway? That they had a word for it that I'd never heard before, and maybe that is the standard phrase. Then you have this plastic ramp with a whole bunch of lights curving this way and then going up to where this 8 ball is. And then it gets to these triangular formation of bumpers. And the bumpers don't have a seeming top down. There's no rollovers or there's no ABCD lane at the top here. There's just an advanced energy shot. So you shoot back up here, you hit this, and then you hit the bumpers, and the bumpers bounce it and do basically nothing. And then it will drain to either that way or that way. And then you have some more slanted drop down targets, which I can't say I immediately hate these slanted drop down targets as much as, say, Sorcerer, because these are differently angled and there's fewer of them in a row. But I am still having a hard time figuring out what the theme even is here. Why is there an 8-ball and this ball that drains on that 8-ball? Where in the world does that ball go? It seems like it's just on top of this platform and then it will just roll down either on top of this bumper, which you never want a ball on top of the bumper, or just get stuck behind a ramp. Or maybe it drains all the way on top of that. That seems crazy. Yeah. What is the theme here? I guess TX is for like transmission, and the theme is teleportation and electricity and space. And arguably this is just far too complicated a theme. There seems to be a trap door under that ramp, so I wouldn't be surprised if the ball falls down here and then gets shot up by that trap door, or the ball falls down here and ramps out of this angled area, which I think there's no way you're going to get that ramp with the lower playfield flippers, which I generally don't like that as a concept, that you would only be able to make a shot with one specific flipper and you have zero chance of making it with anything else. This art on this back glass looks awful. Just absolutely awful. I don't know if there's a lighting issue here or what, but this whole table really smacks of being half finished, half polished. Like that. And they said the scoreboard was going to be brought to the backboard. How is the scoreboard going to work on this backboard? Does something light up? Or is there a screen there? Or is the scoreboard actually higher on the table? I bet that might be it. Let's look at the flyer. Yeah, this artwork does seem to me to be very much in line with like some of the full motion video games that would have come out around the same time. There's one called Burn Cycle that I recall playing when I was far too young to be playing a mature rated game like Burn Cycle, that this seems reminiscent of. And all the full motion video games of that time in particular were pretty awful, but they did look the opposite of cartoony, and that caught people's attention. Yeah, it seems like what they've done is they put the scoreboard on the very, very top of the back glass, which, I mean, you might as well do that because you shouldn't be looking at that. Look at those 80s futuristic fashion mistakes. Yeah, you might as well put the scoreboard at the very top of the backboard, because the person playing the table won't be looking up at the backboard if they know what they're doing anyways. Which once again, it kind of makes the argument that the backboard is fairly unnecessary. And if I was redesigning a pinball table today, I would have nothing there, or like a printed wall scroll type picture as an advertisement for the table, just like a poster to take up the wall. Or ideally you could have like a projector or a big TV on the wall that would cycle through either high scores from multiple tables or just show cartoons or football games or sports games or whatever in the background on the wall, to instead of having nothing there. But yeah, I guess ideally if I was going to um, if I was going to rebuild pinball cabinets, I would have no back glass, and I would have it have a TV or projector on the back wall cycling through all the pinball tables on that wall to catch people's attention in a bigger way. So what are our standard goals going to be? Start a multi-ball, earn an extra ball, earn a special, save a ball with outline posts. Interesting. Outline post. Collect teleport from the rear alley. Right, those all seem very simplistic goals. It feels like the real reason, though, that this table would have had the artwork, the scores moved to the very top of the backboard is because they were very proud of that artwork, and I just don't know. Wow, I actually successfully nudged. Interesting. So the ball did go up that top ramp. And going up that top ramp, it went down, came out a different place. Interesting. So the ball's just going to teleport. I don't think that's a good idea by any means. It just seems like the game is totally designed. I have to wonder if this is a case of somebody not budgeting right for a pinball table and instead giving a lot of budget to a photographer or famous people to be the stand-in artist for the photos. I can applaud this game for having better sounding sound effects. We are approaching quickly 90s era sound effects. But this really feels like a overly simplified table. The color palette is hideous.
Entering transphaser. Reintegration complete.
Seems like the ball is always going to come out that right area.
Reintegration complete.
Nope, I don't think it does. I think it might very well be cheating the system too, because I feel like there's a chance that before the game even starts, there's a couple of trapped balls hidden under the table. But yeah, there is a multi-ball and there's an extra ball and a special, and without even really knowing what I'm doing in the first game, I managed to get 2 out of 5 goals. And I've never seen this table before. Okay, I see what the outline peg is now. I'm wondering if there's something that lights up the bumpers more than just one of them being lit up.
Interlink disabled.
This is another table that feels like it's so focused on its gimmick, it kind of fails to have an interesting flow of the game. Because these balls basically go nowhere, and unless you know they disappear.
Warning, warning, warning. Lock enabled.
Right, so what?
Interlink disabled.
Where do we shoot to lock the ball? Well, the only thing that's really ever blinked is that top loop. So I'm gonna have to get really good at getting that shot to work.
Warning, 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 warning.
And you can see the right slanted drop down targets are a problem. They can bounce the ball directly into the center lane. That's a point where a kickback would have saved me. Still taking too long to even enter your initials and move on. I guess the backboard might look a little bit better when with lights behind it, but
Entering
I don't
transphaser.
think by much.
Reintegration complete.
Every shot is basically only with that top left flipper.
Lock enabled.
I feel like the only way you could have fixed a design like this is to double up on the ways you can activate things. Because even if you could double the number of times you are getting the ball in front of the left flipper, if you just can't make that shot, you just can't make that shot.
Reintegration complete.
And so a sink target like directly down the center lane might be worth it. To have something like that added. Like an under ramp that would shoot the ball downward and into the
Power drain.
to the darkness. Yeah, I'm 18 minutes into this table and I'm already done with it. It's like, yeah. There's nothing here to like.
Reintegration complete.
This does highlight late 80s, early 90s mediocre, I suppose, as a table. Like, the standard has been raised and the bar has been raised. I'm not sure why Pinball Arcade would have even picked this table to have in its curated collection. And unless this was like historically relevant and this was the first table to use under table trapped balls to teleport the balls around, or there's something specific that makes Gottlieb very proud of this table.
Reintegration complete.
Still not really sure how to even lock a ball.
Entering transphaser. Reintegration
feels like the only way you could lock a ball for multi-ball would be through getting up into one of these trapped ball locations. There's kind of nowhere else the ball could go.
Warning, 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 warning.
It's only the right out lane that has a peg to save the ball. That's an interesting idea, but it's just a gimmick that pales in comparison compared to multi-ball or kickback. Yeah, kickback is what I meant to say. I'd much prefer a kickback on both out lanes than a peg on one. I know there's at least one pinball table out there where you had a plunger on both sides of the table, and so you could choose to launch the ball from the left or the right. Interesting concept that probably really never would have gone anywhere. All I'm really doing is just following the flashing lights. I think I probably should read the instructions just to make sure that there isn't something I'm missing.
Warning, 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 warning. Interlink disabled.
But I have a hard time believing that I am missing that much. The main concept here of you not knowing where the ball is going to be also is contradictory to pinball. Like what you've literally done here is taken a game that went to court to prove that it was a game of skill and turned it into a game of random chance. This is the most gambliest pinball table you could design without actually having more traditional gambling elements.
Interlink disabled.
I feel like a lot of tables probably should reward you if you even get slightly close to going up the ramp of a table. But yeah, they can be fairly challenging at times as far as getting your shot all the way up to the gate where it starts to register whether you made it or not.
Lock enabled.
I've enabled the lock. Great. So where do I use the lock?
Release enabled.
Alright.
Entering transphaser.
So I locked one ball in the top part, and that got me a 2-ball multi-ball, which isn't a particularly thrilling multi-ball. Also, I'm not sure what the special target would have been, but I feel like the indication is more than likely that it would have been, once again, shoot the same place we've been shooting before, shooting those top lanes. This definitely feels like a table where I might put $5 worth of quarters into it, thinking I would play a lot of it. Although I'm not sure I would have even been fooled that much on this table. And then I would have gotten fairly bored with it after the third game and just walked away and left the coins and the credits in the table. I suppose it is worth mentioning that tables never refunded once you put a coin or token in. So you couldn't get your money back even if you hadn't started a game. Which, honestly, by today's standards, that frankly should be illegal. But I imagine if you complained enough, you could get a refund from the attendant. So here, what do you do during the special? To light extra ball at the left mega port. Start multi-ball by completing all energy levels to lock. So you have to get the energy level up to lock, which is quite a lot. And then shooting the lit teleport. Extra ball can be toggled between the left and right mega ports by hitting the slingshots, kicker targets, pop-up bumpers, or switches here. Which I guess those are switches compared to kickbacks, which are pretty much the same thing. Extra ball here and here. Extra ball is lit until it's collected or until there's only one ball left in play. To light special at the left megaport, complete 3x at both drop target banks. So hit all 4 of those 3 times. When a bank of drop targets is completed, the flashing level for the bank will go solid. Complete the level of both banks, making the next level flash until they reach 3x. Okay, so you have to do it in order too. Special can be toggled from left to right, hitting mega ports by hitting slingshots. Here, 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 and here. Specials lit until collected. Special awards an extra ball. Only 1 extra ball can be earned at a time. If an extra ball is already earned, extra ball will not light in until it has been used and multi-ball started. When the ball drains, you'll score the ball bonus. Yeah. Seems like kind of nothing. Let's open the coin door. We're back to dip switches on this one. Playfield special, off. On. Let's turn on balls per game, 5. Replay limit, no limit, novelty. Normal, score 500 in case of an extra ball special. Game mode, extra ball versus replay. Replay would be better. Light the special banks completed 2 times. Reset the level ball to ball. See, yeah, that would be very helpful as a setting, is to keep the energy level the same ball to ball. And then can't do anything else with the other 2 buttons. I get the reason why they eventually went away from dip switches, but in emulating, it is way easier to use dip switches than it is to do anything else. So ball control, you have to hit that. I feel like there almost would have had to have been a comic book or movie based on the phrase TX. Because that just seems like a weird name. Okay. So we now have 3x flashing on the 2. And ball control is still a nightmare. But the 3x here is not... It's not per se actually a table multiplier. And look, you can't sink the ball into this area where it sinks. That got me the extra ball doing that. And then hitting that is doing basically nothing. So, unless the ball control would let me get up this ramp, which it won't, that's pretty much all I can do on this table. Like, I can hit this, but then I can't get the ball to go up that ramp. So at that point, all I can do is play. And all we're doing really is looking for a increase Where's the ball? I've either glitched the ball in some mode. Let's just call the attendant. Ball's not stuck. Canceling the call, attendant. Says the ball's not stuck. How can the game determine the ball's not stuck? I swear it's stuck. So you can't even cheat the game if you want. Wow. So not only does the table, I mean, you might as well tilt it and see. Oh yeah, now the ball ejects. Thanks. Yeah, the emulation on this is pretty terrible. Okay. Well, I guess that's gonna be it for TX sector. I kind of want to see like the leaderboards on this to see if anybody else is actually playing this, because this feels like just such an awful table. Let's see, overall, weekly, yeah, someone cheating, which basically means somebody is cheating every single week for no good reason. Although I don't know, I almost wonder if there is maybe some secret messages getting passed along through different video games leaderboards through terrible security, because usually there is pretty terrible security as far as transmitting the information to leaderboards. It's usually just a SQL database that doesn't have any real verification or encryption on it, or it's not running enough of a sanity check. So 500,000. My score for this was the 15th. Now I'm playing this early morning Monday, so it's not crazy that I'd be in the top 15, but it's still somewhat crazy that I'm in the top 15. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. This also kind of highlights how if I don't want to play a table, I really don't want to bother to do the standard goals and try and get all the achievements. Honestly, I think I have to say TX Sector is the worst table I've seen so far. Some of these I've mostly forgotten about, but like I know Genie, for instance, that looks like that is much more playable than TX Sector. At least there's something going on this table, and this upper playfield is not even as bad as some of the other ones we've seen. Or Paragon, that was another one. And in a funny way, you can at least make the argument that Genie and Paragon at least bothered to sell their table on some sex and lewd imagery of blondes, white blondes, and bikinis. Yeah, Paragon looks way more playable than that. Is there anything that I would have hated more than this? This table. Hate's a strong word, I know, but interesting. I've kind of forgotten about Haunted House, so I don't even remember what it looked like. Yeah, that was the table that had the upper playfield and the lower playfield. No, TX Sector has won the award so far as the worst table in the curation. Was there table history? It's just mentioned as being highly collectible, which maybe it is collectible for the back glass hand-drawn art that I assume would have been reproduced, and they weren't having someone paint on the glass by hand every single time for 2,000 different units, but maybe they were. I mean, that really wouldn't even be that hard to do, because if you've got, say, an outline and you're painting like all the reds, and then you put a different outline after the red paint dries, and you paint all the blues, and then you take a different outline and you paint all the greens, you could easily paint a back glass. Particularly also if you've got printed parts on the back glass anyways, and then you're just having someone fill in the colors paint by number. I imagine photography was a big deal in '88 still. I mean, photography never stopped being a big deal. It's been somewhat of a huge deal for 200 plus years. Lit ramps, not interesting. Curving plunger habit trail. That's what it's called. A habit trail. Interesting idea for what to call it. I would have called it an alleyway. I think alleyway makes a lot more sense than calling it a habit trail, which is not a word I know how to use. The idea of having stage captive balls. It really feels like the theme is just totally wrong on this table too. If you'd made a magical theme for this table, and it was the magician and to be confused. At least then you would get some name confusion with Sorcerer, and people would say, "Oh yeah, I played that game, The Magician. I did, I like that." So, and what they would have thought about was actually the Sorcerer. Um, that would have made some sense, and then you could have had some voice lines of a magician saying abracadabra and alakazam and things like that to make the balls appear and disappear. We will see similar things when we do get to Theater of Magic, but yeah, guess I can't stretch this any further. The good news is the next table is Taxi. Even though it doesn't have a pro mode, I think it's a pretty good table. It generally seems to be the case that the first generation of tables that didn't have pro modes are some of the best tables that they picked, and that's why they were the first generation of tables. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.